it's Eden Polstead here, and I am going to be leading sort of an online video VBS series today with my partner, Brooke. So each week we're going to be exploring the United Church curriculum Promise of the Rainbow, where we look at one of the inclusive rainbows and we talk about all the different colors on it, what each color means, and we talk about a different social justice project for that color. This is what the rainbow looks like. This week is Black diversity. Black was added to the Rainbow Pride flag to express the LGBTQ plus community's commitment to remember that the Pride movement was actually started by Black and brown trans women fighting against violence. The Black color honors the Black Lives Matter movement and living out commitment to be anti-racist. Some wonder questions for the week. I wonder what a diverse community looks like. I wonder how God celebrates all of our identities and how we can celebrate all of our identities. I wonder how we can bring out all of our own special gifts and talents every day.
We are going to read a story now. It's called Hidden Figures. This story is written by Margot Lee Shetterly and is illustrated by Laura Freeman. Hidden Figures is a true story of 4 Black women in the space race. Okay, here's the first picture. Good, okay. Dorothy Vaughan, Mary Jackson, Katherine Johnson, and Christine Darden were good at math. Really good. These 4 women, they're very, very good at math. Very good at what they do. Okay, you see the next picture? Here. Good, okay. In 1943, the United States was at war. World War II. Dorothy Vaughan wanted to serve her country by working for the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics, or known as NACA for short, the government agency that designed airplanes. Having the best airplanes would help America win the war. Making airplanes fly faster and higher and safer meant doing lots of tests at the agency's lab in Langley in Hampton, Virginia. Tests meant numbers. Numbers meant math. And math meant computers. Today we think of computers as machines. But in the 1940s, computers were actual people like Dorothy, Mary, Katherine, and Christine. Their job was to do math. So, you look in her window, it's all the different math she's thinking of when she looks at the airplane to make it better. Okay, here are the next pictures. So if you look, this poster says now hiring, applications. And over here, it says white above one water fountain and colored underneath another one. Because Dorothy was Black and a woman, some people thought it would be impossible for her to get a job as a computer. She lived in Virginia, a southern state, where laws segregated or kept apart Black people and white people. They could not eat in the same restaurants. They could not drink from the same water fountains. They could not use the same restrooms. They could not attend the same schools. They couldn't play on the same sports teams. And they could not sit near each other in the movie theaters. They could not marry someone of a different race. So someone who was colored couldn't marry someone who was white. But Dorothy didn't think it was impossible. She was good at math. Really good. She knew she was the right person for the job. She applied, and the laboratory offered her a position as a computer. Here's the next picture. You can see all of the white women going one way and all the women of color going a separate way. At work, blacks and whites were kept apart. The white computers worked in one building, and Dorothy and the other black computers worked in a different building, in their separate office. Even though they worked on the same kinds of assignments, the black computers and white computers used separate bathrooms and ate in separate lunchrooms. Okay. America won the war in 1945, but Dorothy stayed on the job, still trying to make airplanes faster and safer. By 1951, the Americans and the Russians were competing to see who would build the best planes. That meant more experiments and more numbers. Lots and lots of numbers. And more numbers meant the need for more computers. That's when Mary Jackson got a job as a computer at Langley. She worked in a group that tested model airplanes in wind tunnels. A wind tunnel was a machine like a huge metal box with a powerful fan attached. Mary put model airplanes in the wind tunnel and blasted them with air from the fan. This experiment helped her group improve their designs on models before building full-sized airplanes. Now, if you look at the picture, what do you notice? They are all white men except for Mary. She's the only woman and she's of color. Okay. Here's the next picture. That's all one picture. Mary wanted to become an engineer, but officials said it was impossible. Most of the engineers at the laboratory were men, and to become an engineer, Mary needed to take high-level math classes, but she wasn't allowed to go inside the white school where the classes were taught. But Mary was good at math. Really good. And she refused to give up. She got permission to enter the school building and take the math classes, and she earned good grades because she didn't give up. Mary Jackson became the first African-American female engineer in the laboratory. That's a very big deal. And here's the next picture. Okay, so this is Katherine Johnson. Katherine Johnson was good at math and always asked lots of questions. In 1953, she applied to the laboratory for a computer job and was placed on a team that tested actual planes while they were flying in the air. Their research was used to figure out ways to prevent future plane crashes. In one of her first projects, she learned how to analyze turbulence, or dangerous gusts of air. No one knows how many lives her work may have helped save. Here. Look at that. Okay. Katherine wanted to help the group prepare its research reports, so she asked if she could go to meetings with the other experts on her team. Her boss told her it was impossible. Women aren't allowed to attend meetings, he said. But Katherine knew she was as good at math as anyone else. Maybe even better. So she asked him again, and again, and again. Katherine asked her boss so many times that he finally invited her to the meetings. Katherine was good at math. Really good. And because she fought to be treated the same as the men, she became the first woman in her group to sign her name to one of the group's reports. So they have some sort of machine there. And we're going to find out what it does. In the 1950s, the Langley Laboratory bought a machine computer that could do math faster than the human computers. So it was a big computer. At first, these machines made mistakes. Dorothy learned how to program the machines so that they got the right answers. She taught the women in her group how to program the computers too. Okay, so we're looking at this page here. Okay. In 1957, Russia launched a satellite known as Sputnik into orbit around the Earth. The United States started building satellites to explore space too. For years, the laboratory had used math to design airplanes. Now it would need math to create spaceships as well. The government decided to change the agency's name from National Advisory Committee of Aeronautics to National Aeronautics and Space Administration, or what we know as NASA. Now we're looking at the next page with the man on the TV. Yes, we'll see what happens here. In 1961, President John F. Kennedy told Congress, "I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon." But the first step to getting a man on the moon was to send an astronaut around the Earth. NASA was going to need to hire more space experts and more people who were good at math. Really good. Here's the next page here. Okay. The people at the laboratory had to work together from morning to night to figure out how to send astronaut John Glenn into space and bring him back home to Earth safely. Katherine Johnson knew she could use math to help. "Tell me where you want his spaceship to land, and I'll tell you where to launch it," Katherine told her boss. Katherine helped to calculate the trajectories, or pathways, that rockets traveled through space. She had to plan Glenn's exact route from the takeoff in Florida to the splashdown in the Atlantic Ocean. There was no room for error. That's the next page. It looks pretty cool, right? And in his helmet, there's still math equations. They're all over. No one was better than Katherine at solving these tricky math problems. Days before his mission, John Glenn wanted Katherine to double-check the machine computer's trajectory calculations to make sure it hadn't made any mistakes. When Katherine said the numbers were correct, Glenn was ready to go. On February 20th, 1962, Glenn blasted off into space, circled the Earth, and made his way home safely. Here's the next page. Let's see. Meanwhile, laws began to change so that black and white students could go to the school together. Blacks fought for the right to sit beside whites on buses and to drink from the same water fountains. At the laboratory, black and white computers started working together in the same offices, eating at the same lunch tables, and using the same bathrooms. Black and white moviegoers could sit next to each other in the same theater. Across the country, people started to think about ways to bring equality to all Americans. Here's the next page. Okay. Christine Darden was good at math, and she loved electronic computers. She started working at Langley in 1967. Christine wanted to become an engineer, and thanks to Dorothy, Mary, and Katherine, she knew it was possible. Eventually, she became an engineer for supersonic airplanes, planes flying faster than the speed of sound. But her first job was to help with NASA's mission to the moon. Look here, look at everything on the page. So there's all sorts of people, and there's a big board here showing all of the math, and here's Christine down here, filled in a room of men. The people at the laboratory prepared for years to send astronauts to the moon. About 238,900 miles away from the Earth. About 238,900 miles away from the Earth. Finally, on July 20th, 1969, the world watched as 3 men arrived at the moon in their Apollo 11 spacecraft. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind, said astronaut Neil Armstrong when they stepped onto this dusty surface. But it was also a giant leap for Dorothy, Mary, Katherine, Christine, and all of the other computers and engineers who had worked at the laboratory over the years. The moon landing was a success from takeoff to splashdown, but there was no time to rest. Once NASA landed astronauts on the moon, the people at the laboratory began dreaming of sending humans to other planets such as Mars or Jupiter or Saturn. They started to imagine hyperfast space planes that could travel around the Earth at 7 times the speed of sound. Well, here they all are, and they're all older now. Look at them, they're all looking at the sky, the planets. The next adventure wouldn't be easy and would require lots of tests and lots more numbers. But Dorothy, Mary, Katherine, and Christine knew one thing. With hard work, perseverance, and a love of math, anything was possible. And that, friends, brings us to the end of our book. Thank you very much for reading it with me.
So for diversity, we all fit together kind of like puzzle pieces. We're all different shapes and sizes, but in the end, we need all different types of people to be a complete community. Just like you need all different types of puzzle pieces to finish your puzzle. So for this activity, we are going to be making our own puzzles. If you look into the description of this video, you'll find a PDF that has 2 different pages inside of it. The first page will look like this. It's a giant puzzle piece that you can print out and color and design however you want. The second one looks like this. It is the puzzle template that we will be making. Craft, once you have your PDF, you could also have the option of using chipboard, which is sort of a cardboard-like material that we have in our houses oftentimes. This is like a cereal box material or a pop can box material, something along these lines. This is optional. This is only if you want to make it a little more sturdy. Scissors, glue, and pencil, crayons, markers, whatever you want to use to color. Now that I've got it all nice and cut out, I'm going to take my glue and I'm going to glue it onto my piece of board. Once again, this is optional, but it might make it a little bit nicer if you want to do this puzzle over and over again. Great. Now, once I have it attached to the board, I can do the fun part, which is to color and design. You want to have your complete coloring job done so that when you cut out all of the pieces, everything matches up. Your whole image will match up with the pieces. Once you've drawn on your puzzle, the design you want, and I do recommend maybe doing this in a black liner or a black Sharpie or marker or some sort, just so that you're able to see your design very clearly. You're ready to color it all in. Once I finish coloring my masterpiece of a puzzle, or your masterpiece of a puzzle, now it is time to cut it out. It's very important that you're very careful while cutting it out because all of the pieces need to fit together at the end. So if it helps you, you might need the help of a parent, guardian, or somebody else who is older just to make sure that your puzzle works afterward. Along all the little puzzle lines that are on the template to cut out. Now let us pray. And pray however you like to, whoever feels right to you. So I'm going to pray to God today. That doesn't have to be the same for you. Loving and gracious God, we thank you for the color black, a color representing strength mystery, and diversity. Black reminds us of blackberries, bears, cats, and stripes. And for so many more things that I could possibly name here today. For the diversity that Black inspires, we thank you. Amen. Thank you for joining us here today. I hope to see you real soon.